Hello, all. Welcome back to Winter Talks, where we talk to some crazy people about some crazy stuff because no one would ever be sane enough to join this with me. Everyone, please welcome. We have been trying to get this done for a little while now. Things have gotten in the way, but it's fine because now we're here. I have with me the John Candy. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Winter?
I am very, very excited to talk to you because, um, how about you introduce yourself to the audience here?
Sure,
Who?
no problem. Yeah, so my name is Brandon Means. I am the singer of the John Candy, one of the founding members, and I always describe it as I pretty much do everything except for make the instrumentals. So our producer, Eric Tinajero, does all the instrumentals, all the sampling, and I mean that's we're a Samplecore band, so everything we do is sampled, literally everything down to the guitars, the bass, individual drum hits, you name it. Eric then, once he's done with the instrumentals or mostly done, he comes to me. I make tweaks if I think it needs any, and if it doesn't, then we record vocals, and then it's off to the races for me. I manage us. I'm our tour manager, even though we don't tour. We play a show every now and then. I'm our marketing manager, social media manager. I make most of our music videos. So I'm an editor. I'm a graphic designer. It's a sign of the times when it comes to DIY bands. You have to be able to do like 15 people's jobs. But it's been amazing because I've learned how to do so much because of this band. It's a massive
Yeah,
blessing.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean I as I've told you, I have a list of topics here. The first one I kind of want to go for is kind of talking about that, like the introduction to the scene for you guys, because I don't think people notice how long you guys have been around. You guys have been at things for a bit now, actually. I think going back to your releases, I think you released your first project in, I want to say it, the backlog of content that I personally found was about 2017, I think.
Yeah, you are right as far as what we've released. How would I describe it? Not not professionally. That sounds dumb. As far as what we've released officially, we started in 2005. Back when we had an old metalcore band called In Solitas, so we did that band from 2000. I want to say 2002 or three to 2008. So in the middle of that band, that was like when Killswitch Engage was coming up, and As They Lay Dying, and all these other like pioneers, Unearth, all the pioneers of the metalcore scene.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and so we wanted to make a band that was kind of a throwback to more old school hardcore bands, ironically enough, because we definitely don't sound like that now. But we wanted basic old school hardcore throwback, more like along the lines of like Bane or bands like the East Coast, New England type hardcore bands, just all with John Candy movie quotes. And that is how we started. We have one EP that has 3 songs. We never really actually released it. I mean, I could send it to you if anyone wants to hear it. I can send it out. I have it on a
Hey,
Dropbox, so
it'll be
it's
another
accessible.
reaction for the channel. Just kidding.
But it is really bad. I mean, the production is horrible. The vocals are horrible. The instrumentals are horrible. Everything's just unbelievably bad, and it sounds very different than where we are now. And we've even evolved since really hitting it hard since 2017. Definitely have not matured's not the right word. I would say we've evolved our sound over time, and there's been some kind of key moments in that time period where something happened, or we get inspiration from everything. So just random things have happened, and we're like, you know what, I want to try that, and then we'll start dabbling in this and that, and it's been great for us. So yeah, 2017 I think is, you're right though, is when we first released our first officially released EP, which was Sergeant Pepper's sample-based hardcore band, which
Hmm.
obviously is a riff on the Beatles, and that was super fun to make. Eric came to me one day and he's like, "Hey, I was talking to our old guitar player Dave Askew, who's now he plays live shows with us, and I was talking to him about doing some riffs and making some music, and then Eric was just kind of experimenting. I always call Eric a mad scientist, and he realized he could sample guitars from other hardcore metalcore bands, and he just started experimenting with that. And he's a drummer by trade. He was our old drummer in Solitas, so he started
Okay.
stitching stuff together. And the second I heard it, I was like, "Whoa, this is blowing my mind. This is different." Artistically and creatively, it was immediately appealing and exciting to me, especially to be able to do something that seems like it could potentially be different than what anybody else is doing out there, which
Hmm.
is just impossible to do nowadays. And so I was really excited, and I was like, "Can I please do vocals?" And he's like, "Sure." And so that was how it started.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, cause I know that you guys have had a following for since then, but things really didn't start getting too big for you guys until I believe it was either last year or the year before then. I think 2022 was when things started to actually like rise up in terms of popularity. I know that there are a few tracks on some of the older records from 2017, and I believe one of the ones was either from 2019 or 20 that had a good fair bit of views on one of them. One of them had over 100K, but at the recent stuff has really kind of put you guys at least in the spotlight of the scene nowadays. So
Yeah.
it was
No,
really.
that's you've done your research. That's no, you're spot on. It's even down to the years, because I think 2022 is when things really started to take off. Now, granted, I don't think we're some big band or anything like that. At the
Mhm.
same time, like we've met some really amazing people and really cool bands and folks that have just helped us out. Even people from our past. One person that jumps out in my mind is Clay Bush. I mean, this guy, I went to college with him. He managed our old band in Solitas back in the day. And, fast forward, now this is, 20-ish years. He's a big deal. He's got his own agency, his own market. I think it's a marketing agency, and he's managed tons of artists. I know he's been very much associated with Mike's Dead. He set up a collab with us with them, and Atreyu, and other Fred Minnick, who's like a whiskey guy. There's a ton of others that I'm definitely forgetting, but I mean he works with some massive artists, and so yeah, 2020. I mean that's just one example of many that we've been blessed with, but 2022 was definitely when things really started to pop off, and that was with the World of Vampire. And It feels so good, and that I think we just hit the elder emo crowd combined with the folks on TikTok, Charlie Hollywood.
Definitely,
Um,
yeah.
and some of the and hardcore Keem, Orion reacts, and they kind of just took it and ran with the bridge of the song. It's stitching together Paramore, Green Day, Mr. Brightside from the Killers, and then throwing breakdowns over it, and it just I think the elder millennials just went, hey, this is this is exciting, this is different, this is nostalgic, but it's weaving this kind of cool heavy vibe through songs that aren't necessarily super heavy, and I think that's the video you're referring to,
Yeah.
where I think we hit like 120,000 views on the. I'm a numbers guy too, so I I think about 120,000 views on YouTube, and then that song now we crossed 1 million streams. Just that song on Spotify, maybe in the
Hell
last four
yeah.
months, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah, so I mean, it's been pretty exciting. We basically went from 2017 to 2022. This is why it's good you're talking to me too, since I do everything and I'm a numbers guy. Like I remember the most mundane things by most people's standards, but for me, I remember this stuff. Um, yeah, but 2017 to 2022, we went from 50 monthly listeners on Spotify. Well, sorry, probably started at 5, then went to 50 after like Hate 56 did our sets and posted us. Then we got to maybe 500 monthly listeners, and that was still over like a 5-ish year period. But with that Worlds of Vampire song, it was insane. Like I gotta check our Spotify stats every day because I love it. It's just super interesting to me. And we went from 500 monthly listeners to 62,000 within 2 days. And
Jesus.
my phone was just my phone was exploding. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, what is happening?
That's
Um,
actually crazy. I would
yeah, and
like,
it be what?
cause I never would have thought it would jump that much. Wow.
Same. It's the power of TikTok. I mean, that was all I needed to be 100% convinced that that is the social media platform that every band needs to be on and promoting themselves. Because it's like a lottery system. It's like everyone's on there just posting as often as possible, hoping they go viral. Obviously, most people don't, but random videos do, and they pop. And I mean that when we went from that 500 to 62,000 monthly listeners, that created a new plateau for us of about 32,000 monthly listeners. So we spiked to 62, went down to 32,000, and then with this latest song that we released with Sammy Slam Dance, I've got a gas grill for sale. It's a Weber grill. That has now brought us back up from the average of 32,000 to about 42,000, which he
Okay.
already had a pretty big following. Actually, he has a bigger following than we do. So it's been awesome how he's been able to help prop us up. But I think it's been a little mutually beneficial too, because I was excited to see that that song that we did together is now his #1 popular song on his Spotify. So super exciting stuff. I could go on about this stuff forever.
Yeah, hell yeah. I do want to kind of dial things back in time from World as a Vampire, because I have that as a topic unto itself that I kind of
Okay.
want to get to. But I kind of want to start off with the Orange County album,
Yeah,
because
that's actually my favorite one we've done.
really, that's the
I mean,
big
we've only done
favorite.
2 full lengths, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I kind of want to hear what was like the process of creating Orange County, because I listened back to it and there's definitely a lot of the stuff that is there with your music now, but there's also elements like it didn't seem as refined, but it seemed that there was so much more of an idea of how chaotic can this be while also being just really cool.
Yeah, listenable and fun and catchy, and I mean, actually, you saying that, like, kind of the words you're using with the words I'm just using, that was what captured my love and interest with Slipknot with their self-titled album, because it was all of that. It was chaotic, it was super heavy, it was catchy. That was just a mind-blowing release. But I digress. So Orange County, that was our ode and our tribute to Orange County itself in Southern California, because we as little hardcore metalhead kids grew up in the Orange County scene with Bleeding Through, Throwdown, 18 Visions. All these huge Orange County bands just created this massive scene. And we wanted to make an album that was a tribute to that. And and kind of what we do with all of our songs and albums, you name it, we throw in so many Easter eggs. So as I kind of go through this, I'll probably forget so many of the Easter eggs we've thrown in. Like, one example is we got the idea to basically make every song title on that album a person or a character's name, which is influenced off of Bury Your Dead's album. I think it's Cover Your Tracks. No, is that the one where all the Tom Cruise movie titles? Is it Cover Your Tracks? Do you know?
I think so.
I think
I think
it's
that's it.
yeah. So it was influenced off of Bury Your Dead. And then, funny enough, like kind of a year or two down the road, Anchor Mandela Effect, we sampled Bury Your Dead, one of the songs from the Fairy Tale album. I'm drawing a blank on the title of that album, but yeah. And so that was obviously our first full length album. We made it during the pandemic, 2020, and we ended up releasing a second full length that same year, 28 samples later, because we just really, it was kind of like a personal goal of mine. I was like, that would be so rad to release 2 full lengths in 1 year. Everyone's in their houses, everyone's got nothing to do. We're all just kind of just sad and depressed. I was like, let's just crank out some music, and so that's what we did. But yeah, Orange County was like, we wanted to obviously have a lot of fun with it. My favorite comedy of all time is Dumb and Dumber, so I was like, oh man, let's open the album with Mrs. Noogie Burger,
Yeah.
our Dumb and Dumber tribute song, and then even that quote in the beginning where it's like, we'd like to welcome you to Orange County, and thank you for blah blah blah, and hope you have a good time and come along, or whatever these girls say. It's like a random real estate agent video from YouTube that Eric found that we just thought was a funny way to kick off the album. And then even like, we wanted it to be iconic, at least to ourselves, in the sense of we wanted to use something like an icon of Orange County to drive home the point of this is our tribute to Orange County. So that's where the orange blimp comes in, and that's we felt like that was kind of the best thing we could find that was a big symbol. Like if you're thinking of like, Paris and the Eiffel Tower or Egypt and the pyramids, obviously Orange County is not even close to the level of what those things are. But it was kind of that line of thinking. So that's kind of the biggest thing that resides in Orange County. That blimp, you can actually go on it. It's like 20 minutes from my house, and go up and see all of South County, aka Irvine, aka one of the most boring places on earth. I'm sorry for all you Irvine listeners. I hate Irvine. It's so boring. There's just no life, or so there's life, but there's no personality in that area, I guess you could say. I live in North Orange County, so closer to some of my favorite places like Long Beach and places that have a ton of personality and great art scene and things of that nature.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else you want to hear about Orange County?
I mean,
I could
I
go as
don't
deep
really
as you
have
want.
specific questions. I I mean, the thing with Winter Talks is that I will allow the guests on here, you guys, to yap as much as you want to
Okay,
about whatever it is you want to yap about, because
that works. So yeah. I'm gonna pull
because
up the Orange County album right now because I can give you little fun facts about some of the songs. Ryu the Scorpion, our second track, was our tribute to Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, the video games. I grew up playing those games, absolutely obsessed as a kid. 'Cause, I mean, obviously, one of our major themes as a band is nostalgia, and I mean, I just could not get enough of those games growing up. So those are like core memories for me, and we just thought it would be funny to mash those up into one song. Because usually everyone just does like if it's a video game song, it's just one video game. And I was like, let's take the two of the biggest fighting games of all time, especially from the '90s, and throw them together in one song. So that's what we did. Michael Sanderson is an amalgamation of Michael Myers from Halloween. So again, with the mashup theme, Sanderson is the Sanderson sisters from the Witch movie, the one with Bette Midler. It's Sarah Jessica Parker. They did a sequel or a remake. I'm such an idiot for not remembering the name,
it's okay.
but that's fine. Johnny Utah. That track is about Point Break. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I was actually fortunate enough to get to see Keanu Reeves in person play with his band Dogstar over here in Orange County maybe 6 months ago. So that was really special because I mean I grew up watching his movies, The Matrix, the Matrix trilogy for that matter. But Point Break has always and will always be my favorite Keanu Reeves movie. So that's why we went with that. Very excited to make that movie. That song. Benny the Jet Rodriguez was our ode to the Sandlot. Out of the Milk Breathers is kind of a funny one because one of our fans won a contest that we ran back in 2019, where we basically said we'll name a song after you if you win this contest, and we'll come play your house. It was kind of a tribute to Metallica when they did this contest back in the '90s with MTV, where they said, "Hey, if you win this contest, we'll come play your house." And so we were about to fly to Philadelphia to play his house, and the pandemic hit, so we rescheduled it for like a year later.
Oh shit.
Still went to Philadelphia. We played at this place called the Snake Pit. It wasn't his house, but it was one of his friends' garages, like this huge garage where he throws shows all the time. And that was the first. Was that the first time? No, second time. Sunny Hate56 filmed us, because Sunny actually filmed our very first show. Both of these shows are on YouTube, available to watch. But he lived right down the street in Philadelphia, so that was rad for him to come out. Skip a couple of these. Let's see. Paul Allen. That's a character in American Psycho. American Psycho is one of my favorite movies of all time. And funny enough, that song we did. Well, ironically enough, it's actually a full circle moment. We are at least I'm very influenced by Ice Nine Kills. I think that band is absolutely genius. Like I call them like an operatic. Yeah, like kind of like an operatic Panic at the Disco. And obviously way heavier Panic at the Disco. Just I think his melodic vocals remind me a lot of Brendan Urie. But we did that song. It was either a full year, or 2 years, maybe even more before Ice Nine Kills did their American Psycho song. And there are similarities in the song. I'm not saying that they copied us in any way because we were a tiny band. There's absolutely no way they've ever even heard of us. But I just loved hearing the similarities and like the certain quotes they used. the break in the song at the bridge where it's an '80s tune that
Do you
we
like
sampled
Ice
in an
Nine
'80s song.
Kills?
Yeah, exactly. We sampled an '80s song. I think they just kind of made their own '80s sounding flavor thing, but it
Yeah.
was just really cool to see that. Then I'll skip a couple more of these. John Candy, the last song, was our tribute to obviously the man who we owe everything to with this band. You know, he passed back, I think it was 1994. But we just I call him in the song and the lyrics our cinema dad. He's just one of those guys that we grew up watching where just you felt like he was your dad. Like you felt so close to him,
Hmm.
even though you never met the guy. And that's what the whole song revolves around. That we wanted to just make our, in our first full length, we're like, we have to have a song dedicated to him. And so that's what we did.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really think that the first album is really good stuff. It
Thanks, man.
has, as I said, it has this level of chaos, but it has this level of we know what we're doing here. We know what we want to come out of this. And of course, with some of the tracks, there's growing pains because you guys were just kind of dipping your toes into at least this style of doing things,
For
going
sure.
going way back to um, stuff like Dreamscape from that long ago. I looked at some of that stuff in conversations. Um, I looked at some of that stuff. Or
Oh, wait. I
is
think
that
you're
you
talking
guys?
about the Brazilian. Yeah, you're talking about the Brazilian, the John Candy band.
Oh
Because I was
wow,
like,
there's
yeah.
a whole nother
Oh,
one.
yeah, there is. Here, I'm trying to see if they're still on Spotify. I don't. Oh wait, yeah, they're still here. Yeah, that's not us. Yeah, this Dreamscape, Ghostpedia, Overdrive Beach, all that. None of that is us. It's pretty funny because we started the band, like I said, in 2005. We revived it in 2017. Within 6 months of us starting the band again, they hit us up actually. They emailed me and said, "Hey, you guys are using our same band name. You need to change it." And I was like, "Well, actually, we had it before you guys." And then I sent them like, because I think our MySpace is still up. It's like it's not really if you even know what MySpace
I do.
is,
Yeah.
but um, it's still there. I mean, they had like this massive data loss thing happen a couple years ago, so there's not the site's very bare bones, but I'm pretty sure our MySpace is still there. It was at least at the time, and I sent it to him. I was like, "Hey, we started in 2005, so we're not changing our name." Um, but yeah, and they sound very different from us. They're from Brazil. They're very super mellow, almost like beachy, like hanging out by the beach, vibey kind of music.
Okay.
Not that we don't put that some of that kind of stuff in our music, but yeah, that doesn't come up as often as it used to. It used to come up pretty often, but now I think because we've released such an extensive discography over the last 7 years, it doesn't come up very often. But I'm happy to set the record straight.
Yeah, yeah. I was really confused as to why that stuff
Hmm.
was in the same release catalog. I was like, something's wrong here.
Something's off.
But let's go to 28 Samples Later, the second song, or second album, sorry, not song, from 2020.
Hmm. Yeah, so that one. So again, we wanted to do 2 albums in a year. Thought it would be pretty cool. We're huge 28 days later. I mean, this is very on the nose. It's not very subtle. We're very big 28 Days Later fans because actually, like, I've just always been a massive zombie movie fan, and until Walking Dead kind of jumped the shark and became a little bit unwatchable. Like I was obsessed with the show for years until it just wasn't good anymore, in my opinion. But
What,
before that,
if I may
what's
ask, what
uh,
point was that? What was that
I
where,
kept watching past, and I don't care. I'm going to say the spoiler because I mean, this it came out years ago
yeah,
when they killed Glenn, when Negan killed Glenn. I was still fine with it. Like a lot of people stopped watching then, but I was like, no. I mean, it felt earned. I thought they executed it well. It was horrible to see him go, but he was so beloved. It
it
showed
was
how connected
brutal
everyone was
too.
to the characters. Super brutal.
I viscerally remember that scene because it was like,
Hmm.
because I had read the comics. I was one of those people. I had
Oh,
read the comics, and that was in there, like nearly frame by frame. That was in the comics. The way that Glenn
dang.
went out, and
Yeah.
I was so confused as to why people stopped watching the show after Glenn died, because that's the way he went in the comics. It kind of just confused me. I don't know.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you. I didn't understand why people, but I think it's just because they were so connected to the character. I think that's honestly why they got so mad. But I still liked the show even after that. I think I watched maybe a season after that, and then it just started getting redundant, boring. I was just sick of not caring about the characters and the new ones they were bringing in. I was like, all right, I'm done with this show. But my point is, before that, I was really obsessed with zombie stuff. But I think the problem is with the Walking Dead effect. They just Hollywood just really started to overdo zombie stuff, and I don't understand how they're still making new shows. It just kind of blows my mind. So I still love all the old school zombie stuff, but any of the new stuff I usually don't check out. The reason, this is kind of a long way of saying, uh, 28 Days Later kind of was one of the movies that redefined the zombie genre, in the sense of, like, it was one of, if not the first zombie movie where they could run quickly, and
Hmm.
that concept was just mind blowing. Like, I remember, like, vividly going to the theater to see it, and just my mind being blown. And I had never been to Europe yet, and so just getting to see London and just these places across the pond was just so exciting to me. So,
The
um,
cinematography in that movie is just beautiful. I think the cinematography is another movie unto itself. Like,
absolutely.
I think that 28 Days Later is probably one of my favorite zombie movies ever created.
Oh
I
yeah, right there with you.
I don't think it is my favorite. I would have a tough time trying to pick what exactly my favorite is, but it's definitely up there, at least in terms of what I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's definitely up there for me. I'm with you also. I don't know if I could say it's my favorite, but it's probably a top three or top five. And fun fact, somebody told me once that that was the first movie to release all digital,
Yeah,
something to that effect.
it
I
was
don't know
one of the
if you knew
first,
that,
yeah,
or
if I remember.
yeah. So that was just a cool fun fact. But um, yeah, so we wanted to, in saying samples in there was a very purposeful choice, because I think at that point each release we had done, or not all of them, but most of them, the EPs we had done had the word sample in the title, and because we've always wanted to very much wear that on our sleeve and not try to hide the fact that we're sampling. We're very much out in the open about, hey, this is what we do, this is how we construct this band, this is how we construct these songs. We want people to know this is how we do it, because one, it's fun for people to try to figure out. uh, it's almost like bingo listening to our songs, like figure out what songs we're sampling.
Yeah,
um, yeah, and then at the same time, it's just it's Eric's creative and personal and artistic goal to make us sound as real as we can, like a real studio band, but you know, still be stitching together all these other things that have been pre-recorded by 60 plus artists, because we sample literally, there's 60, 70, 80 samples in every song. It's an insane amount of sampling that Eric does. Like, he's a mad genius.
yeah, yeah. And 28 samples later was it looks like, in terms of, at least for YouTube stats, that it was the first record that got you guys a little bit more reach in the scene.
Yeah.
Funky Butt Lovin' is specifically the one that I'm talking about here.
Oh yeah.
Because that's
What
the it looks like, at least on the YouTube side of things, that's the most listened to song on the album.
Yeah, that's purely because one of our old buddies made a music video for us, like just out of just stitching together clips from the movie that song is about, which is Rookie of the Year. And I think it got its talons in some algorithm, or some algorithm got its talons in the song on YouTube, and it just started getting circulated. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the stats on Spotify right now. It's definitely the number one song. It's got 84,000 streams. The second
Jeez.
closest would be "Quarantine of My Life." That's because that's the first, you know, full track on this on the album, not counting the intro that's about talks about tiny wieners. But yeah, and the funny thing about this album is that we were so proud of it, and the fact that we pulled it off, you know, two full length albums in a year. And we had a reviewer. He used to work for this now defunct webzine called Dead Press, in the UK,
Oh,
and this
that's
reviewer just
convenient.
like, yeah, this reviewer just eviscerated the album. So this was my first experience of somebody telling me something that I have made is horrible. And so it was kind of like a range of emotions to go through.
Mm.
I'm happy it happened because I think how this stuff usually happens. It forces you or makes you start thinking outside the box a little more, like creatively. What do I want to do next? What could we do? What can we do to show this guy that, hey, we don't suck. Look what we can make now. Look where we can go. Look who we can impress, or who could become a new fan of our band. And that's what led, because he literally called the album an abysmal waste of cosmic dust, and
Wow.
that's what we titled our next EP, as an ode and tribute to him. Eh, and that's EP wise, that's my favorite EP we've done, absolutely. So Buffalo Dell is one of my favorite songs that we've done. Quick sidebar on that, I'm making a music video for it right now, um, because I just love it so much. We never made a music video for any of the songs on that album or that EP, and I'm doing it via what's called runway.ml. It's an AI algorithm video generation website that I've used to make some of our videos, but they just released their Gen 3 algorithm in alpha 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I just got super excited, and I was like, I'm making a music video right now, because
Gotcha.
it's started to get to the point where some of it is indistinguishable from reality, and like more like Sora, which is like I think the Google one that's still not out yet. It's in beta, I think.
Yeah.
That can make insanely realistic video. But so I'm almost done with the video. Like I was working on it today. I'll probably finish it tomorrow, or at least I'm trying to. And if I do finish it tomorrow, then I'll release it tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. It's just like the fidelity of it is really cool. I'm making it more like kind of found footage. Um, but I don't want to spoil too much, but it's exciting. But I digress again. Going back to 28 Samples Later, um, my favorite song on that album by far is October 31st, which is the last track. And the
Mm-hmm.
funny thing is that track almost didn't even make it onto the album. Like we were done. We had, truly 11 songs plus the intro. And then Eric had just got some idea. He started stitching it together, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this is amazing." So that's funny because I'm looking at the streams. I mean, usually your last song on the album gets the least streams, and it's pretty low. It's you know, one of the lower ranked songs stream wise on the album, but I think it's by far the best song on that album. Um, I think it's the most creative. It's the most fun. It's the most catchy. I think it has a good chorus. I love the music video we shot for it, because it's our
Yeah.
tribute to all horror movies, and we shot that during the pandemic with our really good friend Tim Nieto. He started as a fan, became a really good friend, and he's directed a couple of our music videos. He did that. He did our Dexter tribute song, "The Bay Harbor Butcher," and shot that video in Hollywood, all around Hollywood and LA, during the pandemic. So there was no one around, so we had great access to all these locations from every movie, and that was my first real foray into making a full music video and learning to become an editor, because I'm all self-taught. Like I've taught myself Adobe Premiere, After Effects,
Okay.
Photoshop, you name it. So I pulled out all the stops on that, and I will say right here that was my favorite music video that we've ever done. And we've made some cool videos, but now I think the Buffalo Dell one will become my favorite, for a myriad of reasons, but not by a lot, because I still really do love that one. That was just such a fun video to shoot, and edit, and just a fun day in LA with a bunch of friends, just going to a bunch of iconic horror movie locations.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I really like 28 Samples Later because it as as I said, album 1, Orange County, still had a few growing pains to get into, but it really seems like even though it was made in the same year, there was definitely a step up in terms of how production sounded, how everything kind of melded together. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys are still using so many fucking samples. And I kind
Yep.
of want to go on a side bit and talk about that too, because how the hell do you guys do it? Because the
Um,
amount of samples that you put in every single song is nuts. The question of how do you guys do it is both in terms of like mixing and mastering it and all that, and also how the hell do you get it onto streaming services? Where are the lawsuits against you guys?
oh, oh man, please no. Okay, a lot to unpack there. Let me say one thing real quick on 28 samples, then and we can move on because I have to call out Shooter McGavin because that's probably my second favorite track on the album. Just
Yes.
because Happy Gilmore is my second favorite comedy of all time, right behind Dumb and Dumber. I'm super proud of that song. I love the lyrics. I love how Eric stitched it together. Just super fun track. So I just wanted to say that real quick. But
Oh,
yeah, so
absolutely.
sampling.
Yeah.
Yes, the sampling is mind-boggling. So um, we're doing what every or most hip hop, rap, etc. artists have been doing since the 70s. We're just doing it on steroids, um, and we're doing it in rock, which in metal, which I think is just blasphemous to metalheads and hardcore kids, etc., because there's such an emphasis on instrumentation. Not that you necessarily have to be talented, but like people at those shows, they want to see you playing your guitar and your bass and your drums and beating the crap out of them and
Um,
just going nuts. Go ahead. What's that?
sorry. In metalcore, bassists don't exist.
Anymore?
Uh,
You're right. Yeah, in the last couple of years, you're right.
they don't exist. I don't know what's a bassist. I'm sorry.
No, it's funny you should
I'm a
say
core
that.
kid. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's super funny you said that because I think that has actually helped open more people's minds to us. Just the fact that every band nowadays plays to a backing track, so it's like people can't say like, oh, you guys are just playing a backing track or whatever. It's like, well, I mean, yeah, we are just playing a backing track, but so are every single one of your other favorite bands that you're going to see. And to your point, yeah, they don't even have bass players anymore, or the guitars don't even run through amps. It's like I forget what it's like. They do a direct line into the house system in a lot of these medium to larger venues. So it's all just becoming so much more electronic. Um, but I digress again.
And I mean,
The same. Go
I
ahead.
don't think some things that are played nowadays are even notes. It's just noises.
True.
I think
Yes, and gent especially. Yeah.
well, I think metal like tangent number one
Yeah,
is
we'll get lots of tangents going.
um I think metal has gotten to a point where it's just a competition of who can make the most random noises and
Yep.
the most filthy vocal sounds.
Yep. Nailed the
The
head. Yep.
the squealiest wow what the hell kind of noises on the guitar, the lowest tunings possible, and it's like
Yep.
when there's such an emphasis on those types of extremes, it's like no wonder some people don't want to do it. When no wonder bassists aren't really going for it anymore. It's just like no, it's. I mean,
You're exactly right. I couldn't agree more.
I'm still a metalhead through and through. I will always be a core kid for life. But it's a little disheartening to see that so many people have made the scene into a little bit lesser of what it should be. It's more of a competition than a free art space, you know.
Yeah, I think it depends on like the genres you're looking at too, because like I mean, there's the cyber grind scene is very artistic and creative and wild. We were a little bit associated with that because we had a song on a Big Money Cyber Grind compilation, our Dexter song, Bay Harbor Butcher.
Yeah.
But a lot of those guys like Zombie Shark, they're just really cool, interesting artists. But you're right. I mean, that is the thing nowadays, and I'm not also not trying to take away from it because I do like a lot of those bands that are just trying to do the most squealies and the lowest tunings and the craziest vocals. But the only thing I don't like about that is that it happens with every scene, every genre. Everything just starts to sound the same. And I think that's part of why people like us now too, because we try to not do that stuff. Like I think we definitely incorporate elements of that stuff, but our emphasis is more just the chaos and the full rainbow and spectrum of all these different things we're trying to weave in different genres, and it definitely stands out against a backdrop of all the aforementioned stuff we were
Yeah,
just discussing.
you guys are extreme in the sense that you're just fucking wacky.
Yeah,
Like to for lack of a better term, y'all are just wacky as hell.
yeah,
And
wacky
I
works.
and it's like, yeah, I love bands like Lorna Shore. I love stuff like Slaughter to Prevail. I like the bands that go all in going crazy the entire time. But there's something special about a band that's just wacky, literally just to be wacky.
Hmm. Yeah. No, totally. Oh, do you want me to start going into the sampling stuff? Should we go back on track with
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Sure. So,
Tangent
okay.
over.
So, yeah. So Eric, I've always described it as we're kind of like the Paul's Boutique of metal. If you know that album from Beastie Boys, it's old. I mean, it came
Yes,
out in I think like the early '80s or something, but
I do know
maybe
that
the late
album.
'70s. Maybe it's not. Yeah, but it's. I mean, I remember like I'm watching a special about it. Maybe like Finn McKenty on YouTube was talking about it, and I didn't realize how much they sampled. Like that's probably the closest comparison to what we do from a quantity and volume of sampling perspective, and just kind of just weaving all these different styles and things and sounds and blah blah blah. Yeah, the funny part too is that sometimes some of the samples that we use, case in point, our newest song, the Rubber Grill song, that Notorious B.I.G. sample is itself sampled from an old 60s or 70s like disco song. I can't remember what song it was. So it's like we're doing like the inception of sampling in some of these songs, which is
Okay.
just even more kind of fun, chaotic, manic, intriguing, whatever you want to call it. Um, so now from a release perspective, we use a distributor. We're all self-produced. We do everything ourselves. It goes to one distributor and then it distributes to everyone else. The way that we look at it is that it's almost like we're doing parody. It's a parody, so it's almost like fair use. We're also not making these samples like one sample the backbone of a song. It's like it's just you're being assaulted by all these different samples throughout the entire song. Da 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 da. So it's a kind of thing where it's like I think we're doing it so differently. One that I think if somebody did want to come after us, they don't even know how or if they can, because we don't even know if they can. um, but we also look at it too as if like that ever did happen, that would just because we do this at the end of the day, this is a hobby for us, and we do it for fun, and we would just be like, okay, we're done. Like we don't need any like crazy weird stuff happening or stressors or people sending us like cease and desists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'd say the other part of it too is that we are too small for anyone to care still that would want to pursue us in that way. It's like there's not much money to be made in the music industry. It's hard to get anyone that matters to listen to 3 seconds of your song. A local band, a new song. They're going to tune out after 3 seconds. So I don't even think any of those people would be able to get far enough into one of our songs, or even ever hear of us for that matter, to care.
Okay.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell, I think.
I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Considering you use so many samples in such little time, I guess it would make sense that it would fall under fair use because it's like when it comes to copyright, you need a specific timestamp or time frame of a song before it becomes actual like copyright fraudulent. So yeah, I get what you're saying with that. That's I didn't really think about that. I'll admit. Um,
Well, I would say anecdotally too. Like I've always heard that you can use up to like 15 seconds of a sample in a song and you're okay. I mean, that's just kind of one facet of it. I but I don't know if that's true. One or two, if it is like 15 seconds. If that does exist, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 10. Like I don't know.
yeah, I know there is a number out there that is like set in stone. It's something like that, something like 15, 20 seconds. Um, yeah, I never really thought about it that way. So, hey,
Yeah, they're totally. But at the end of the day, I think also, I guess, partial summary is that we just do this for a hobby. It's fun. It's super fun for us. It's very creatively fulfilling and rewarding. And the fact that we have people, fans that are as into this as we are, is just the icing on the cake. Have fans of your hobby is a really cool feeling.
absolutely, yeah. So, we've talked about 28 samples later, and Orange County. Let's move on to the current era, I suppose, with
Yes.
because you've had since since 28 samples, you've had um, you've had a few songs. You had Bay Harbor Butcher, which you talked about getting a music video pretty soon.
Mhm.
You have like a Phoenix out of Arizona, and Anchor Mandela Effect, or is that you? Is that you? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
No, and I can even speak to that era that we're in right now very easily. It's a great segue actually. There was a specific moment that brought us into this era, and that was when we played that Philadelphia show that I mentioned earlier at Tyler's buddy's place in the Snake Pit. Uh, these girls were twerking during our set, like in like just in front of the audience. You can see it in the Hate 56 video. Look it up, like live set
Okay.
Hate 56, the John Candy. We're wearing our white outfits in that one, and that was just a fun fact. That was our third show our third show ever. Um, but so I don't remember the timestamp of the girls twerking, but it's in the video. And Eric and I both saw that moment. So again, drawing inspiration from anywhere and everywhere. We saw that moment and we were like, let's start making more fun songs and do like go crazier with the sampling and go the single route, more like kind of like a pop structure. And just as an experiment, because why not? We have nothing to lose. Again, this is just fun. Let's see what happens. And we did that. So the first song that we did after that moment was Like a Phoenix out of Arizona. And that's really kind of the genesis of, I guess, like our third-ish wave of where people started to find out about us and get into us. Because we did that. And then right after that was Anchor Mandela Effect, where we sampled Justin Timberlake and
Mm-hmm.
Bury Your Dead. Tons of other samples too. I just don't remember which ones. And then that then segued into Worlds of Vampire. So it's like that moment of just these girls twerking during our set uh, caused 3 songs to be released, all singles, and completely changed the game for us. And now, and that's kind of just what the structure is nowadays that bands should be embracing. Because that's hip hop and rap artists have understood this for 20 years. Metal, I feel like, has just been catching on in recent years. In that, especially if you're a smaller band, putting so much effort into a full-length album. Do it if it's creative and for you and makes you happy and it's artistically fulfilling. But if you want to see like where things can go or maybe try to get things to the next level, the single route has been working out very, very well for us. And I made it a point to be like, every time we release a single now, I'm going to make a music video. So I want it to be a full experience around one song. So it's Eric puts his all into the instrumentals. I put my all into the vocals and the lyrics. I put my all into making the music video, and I put my all into marketing the crap out of the song for as cheaply as possible,
Mm-hmm.
because we are very DIY. And again, sorry. Then one element of that too is embracing collaborative efforts. So community building and bringing other artists in, helping bring up other artists, maybe other artists helping bring us up. And that seems to have really added a cool one flavor and artistic tinge to the songs, but then also it gets you in more people's ears, and it's just again it helps build the community, which is really fun and rewarding.
Yeah, and yeah, with this era came the big one, "World is a Vampire." That
Yes.
song kind of blasted you guys off quite a bit into the general, especially the reaction space and the spotlight.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how was that? Like waking up the next day to find that, hey,
It was insane.
this
It
got
was insane.
noticed.
It's what you dream as an artist your whole life, in the sense of like I've been doing artistic things since I was a kid, whether it's drawing or music or whatever. Different mediums of drawing, trying to make video games as a little kid. Um, so it was a big moment for me, especially where I'm just like, wow, like we put something out in the world that people really are liking and caring about and sharing, and um, it's creating a fan base for us, like a rabid fan base. Like it was cloud nine. It was incredible, and we've got to have moments like that. Ever since that happened, we have moments like that. I would honestly say every 3 to 6 months, something happens since 2022 and that song was released where I'm just like, pinch me. How is this happening? I can't believe this. How are we meeting this director, Brandon Dermer, from a guy who directs movies on Hulu. He works with Blink 182 all the time. That we're like friends, and we work together. We got him on one of our songs. He got Dickie Allen from Infinite Annihilator on the song. I'm talking about the Bijan Candy. He got
Yeah.
Alex Alareza from Necrogoblicon on the song. And like that's just one of like all these just crazy examples of things that have happened where I'm just like, each year I'm like, there's no way we'll top last year, and then we do. And I'm still right now I'm like, there's no way we'll top this year, next year, but by the way things have gone, maybe we will. I don't know.
I
And
do want to talk about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, I wanted to give you a shout out. I think the first time you heard of us or your first reaction to us was The World is a Vampire, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Reaction number 7 on the channel. God.
Right? Yeah.
I had heard. I specifically remember it. I had joined the stream of Mr. Andy Cizek of the band Monuments.
Yes,
Termina,
yes.
Wander, Makari. He's a great dude. I would love to have him on this show sometime. Hey Andy, if you're watching, I know that you have seen my videos. You've told me.
He has an amazing voice too. If I could only sing as well as that guy, holy shit.
He has probably one of the healthiest voices I've ever heard in a vocalist. He's just astounding, and his range is so huge. But
but tell me yeah, because I feel like maybe you were the person who told me that he played us on his stream. I remember someone told me, I just couldn't remember who it was, but I don't know any detail beyond that.
Every once in a while, he used to do a bunch of like listening to song streams, and he did them for a while, you know, before touring for Monuments and Makari recently started up again, and World is a Vampire came up. And I think it was actually Orion who put it in the chat.
Oh, nice.
Who was like, "Hey, Andy, there's this new thing that came out a little while ago. You got to check this out." And apparently, because like Andy saw that it, like it, I think there was something in the description about it being Samplecore, I believe, and Andy saw that, and at first, Andy was skeptical. Andy was like, Samplecore is a thing that's been done before. I don't know if this is going to be good or not. And lo and behold, Andy gets through the song and he's like, that was a 9 out of 10.
Yes.
That was
That's amazing.
Like he was like, that was so much better than I thought it would be. And I remember him specifically just laughing his ass off at the bridge section. Kind of the same way I did, because it's just, that bridge is iconic.
Yeah, Eric just knocked it out of the park with that bridge, man. I agree.
It's so much fun.
That's so cool that he reacted that way, though. Yeah, I think I do remember you telling me he gave it a really good review. That was really exciting to hear. It's a cool co-sign, you know?
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk about, because you had just mentioned it, the Bijan Candy. How did that come about? Because
that was
you
go ahead.
You got as you just said earlier, you got like Dickie Allen and Alex Alareza. How did that come about? Because that's got to be huge.
Yeah, it was insane. I was like, there's no way this will ever happen, and it did. So, trying to make a long story short, my memory might be fuzzy. It was only a year ago, though, I think, so it shouldn't be too bad. But Brandon Dermer directed this actually awesome movie on Hulu called I'm Totally Fine. So I recommend you go check it out. I think it's still on Hulu. And I'd seen ads for it. I hadn't thought anything of it, and then randomly, I think he DM'd me. And this is like towards the tail end of the pandemic, I think. And he DM'd the band and he was just like, hey, huge fan kind of thing. And then it just kind of snowballed into us just randomly talking about random things. And then it turned out we had all these random mutual friends. and it turned into us talking on the phone. And he's actually a big music video director too. Like he's done a lot of stuff for Diplo. He's done stuff for Major Lazer.
You said he did stuff for
Just
Blink at some
a
point?
lot of stuff for Blink. I don't think he's directed any of their music videos, but he always does like all their teasers. He might have done a music video, and I might be wrong, but I just can't remember. But he's done. He's always doing different teasers for them, like show teasers, tour teasers. He just did something for Travis Barker specifically. It was something with running. I can't remember. He used like Forrest Gump and like a Forrest Gump kind of motif in the video.
Okay.
But Alex was, I mean, not Alex. Brandon was just a really, really cool, nice, down to earth guy. I really enjoyed talking to him. And so he invited us to come up to 1720, which is a venue in downtown LA. Fun fact, owned by Alex Alareza from Necrogoblicon and Travis, the I think guitar player from First to Last. And I want to say they might have one other co-owner, but Alex invited us to come up. We went up and met him, outside in like the smoking area. I was like, hey, just talked to him for like half an hour. Really exciting to meet him in person. Watched Necrogoblicon that night, Hunt the Dinosaur. Got to talk to Josh, the guitar player for Hunt the Dinosaur, because he was actually a fan of us before. So him and I were talking. I was like, oh, we're going to be at the show. Let's talk. And I was a Hunt the Dinosaur fan. I think he was also in Bro Job for a while as well, who I love. Just fun, jokey band, kind of like us. So from that conversation, Brandon's like, I'd love to do vocals on one of your songs. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. That'd be super fun. And then randomly, I want to say he like already recorded his vocals. Randomly, he goes like, "Hey, I'm gonna get Dickie to do vocals on the song too," and I was like, "What? That's a huge deal." He's like, "I'm gonna get Alex to do it as well, if they're down, hopefully." And they were, and they delivered. I was like, "I'll believe it when I see it." I don't get excited about things until they actually happen, and then it actually did happen, and they got on, and that was just huge for us and really cool, and it was a big. Big cosign to get someone to get guys of that caliber, Brandon, Alex, and Dickie on one of our tracks. It still doesn't seem real to me.
Yeah, similar to a lot of people, hey, I would love to have Dickie on the show. That would be so cool. I just kind of want to,
Yeah.
because he has a wild little noodle up in that head of his. I wanna know what makes that thing tick, because going maybe a little bit of a shorter tangent, but Infinite Annihilator in general is just a fascinating project to me, because it is the most depraved things you can think of, just put in a band's discography.
Yeah, I don't even think they've played a live show, and they have a huge following. Not even a single show I've heard.
And the thing that I love about it is like the labels, like streaming services, took their stuff down, but by doing that, it's the South Park effect. If you take down their stuff for being obscene, you prove them right.
Mm-hmm.
I love that about them, and I think I remember Dickie when it happened. Like he just laughed about it. He was like, it was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't have happened if they didn't get so popular. But since they did get popular, the wrong people or the right people, depending on how you look at it, heard it and said, "Hey, nope, this ain't cool."
Yeah, you're talking about Nah, I can't say that on YouTube. But yeah, and then you got Arthur Rhodes, that track.
Yeah, it's a fun little ditty. With that one, but the cool thing about that, it was kind of this weird artists influencing artists, but in reverse direction of how you would think they would get influenced. So I say that in that I'm trying to remember, see if I get the details right. So basically, Eric starts working on the song. And in kind of in the same time period, actually maybe even before Eric started working on the song, and that's what it was. Before Eric started working on the song, some of our fans, now friends and now directors, Ian and Javi, they reached out to us and said, hey, we want to shoot a music video for you guys, and it's going to all revolve around peanut butter. And I said, that sounds disgusting. I love peanut butter. I don't want it to be ruined for me forever. So as long as like the peanut butter doesn't touch me in an unnatural way, in the sense of like I'm not eating it, like
Yeah.
I'm down for the video. And also, obviously, thank you for this offer to make a music video for us.
Yeah.
So Eric started working on the song. That was before we even had a song. Then Eric started working on the song a month or two later, and just threw some fun little peanut butter nods in there. You know, it's peanut butter jelly time, like all that stuff. And so their idea influenced aspects of the song, and
Okay.
then and then I knew that at that point, because I usually do all of our album artwork. I knew this time I wanted to commission somebody, and I'd been wanting to work with Zombie Shark. I always forget how to say his name. I think it's Corey. I know his first name's Corey, but he goes like Corey Curly Swope. And maybe he goes by Curly. I'm not sure. Anyways, really cool guy. Makes amazing artwork. He's worked with lots of big artists. Dr. Akula is the one that always comes to mind first because I love that band. A Sanguis in a Bog, I think he worked with them too. Some others. He does shirts, album covers, whatever. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, we got this new song we're working on. I want you to do the album cover or the single cover. And all I'll tell you is it's the peanut butter's the theme. And he's like, do you want to give me direction or you want me to just go nuts? And I said, you know what? I trust you. You make rad stuff. I don't want to tell you anything. Just go nuts. Just, peanut butter is all you need to know. And he came up with this mechanical spider thing coming out of a GIF/riff
Yeah.
a peanut butter container with like half of our new mask on the front, which that was kind of the debut of the mask as well. And the cool part about that is, little tangent also, we started working with goes by Perfect Ugly and Josh Everett's. We started working with them on a new mask because I was just so sick of our old mask because it just is the most uncomfortable thing on earth to wear. And so they've worked with Slipknot. They've actually worked with Slipknot a lot and some other big artists, and that was just insane that they were willing to work with us. Paul Vick is his actual name, Perfect Ugly. I'm good with Instagram handles. But they collabed together and made this really cool mask for us, and so we decided to debut it in that video. And then so then now you have like their art influencing our artist making the cover by putting the new mask on there, because I think I sent Corey like a little snippet of what the mask looked like. And then and it's funny that he chose a spider because I would say the first 20 years of my life I was terrified of spiders. Second 20 years of my life I've kind of liked spiders in a weird way, but I've always been fascinated by them no matter what. So like a lot of my art would incorporate spiders, and so it's just weird and crazy that he happened to throw like a serendipitous kind of moment where he threw animatronic spider legs into this art. It's like he's reading my mind, that he knows that I love weird stuff and spiders. And so then that reverse influenced me to when I was editing, because Javi and Ian shot the music video for us. I edited the video and I did all the effects, so I added all the little spider flurries in the video. So just all these different artists influencing each other for one cohesive, fun experience.
Yeah, I really like that track. It's not out on YouTube, but I did react to that one actually pretty recently.
Oh, nice! Get it out there. I'll get it reposted and liked and commented and all that stuff.
I also I kind of want to talk about this one because I don't think it got noticed very much, but the All the Damn Vampires collab.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's
not your typical style, definitely.
No, very different. So, funny thing though is it does contain elements of what we put in a lot of our songs, because Eric and I both love synthwave. I mean, I was born in '82, so I'm a total '80s junkie kid. I love everything '80s culture, music, pop culture, you name it. And I wanted to do so we do a lot of we throw synth in a lot of our tracks, synth breakdowns, kind of guitar or keyboard sounding breakdowns here and there. So in a way it's a natural progression for us to do something like that, but also not, because it's all melodic. There's no screaming. It's very mellow, but it was a culmination and very fulfilling of just something for me where as an artist I wanted to see and push myself to see if I could do an all melodic vocal track, which is what I actually attempted some other tracks that all the damn vampires had done before, but this one I think it just resonated with him more, also because I made a music video for it and he just loved the visuals, and so
Hmm.
he's like, let's release it together. Now, it was a full circle moment too because Davey Oberlin is all the damn vampires, and he was a part of Korn. He might still be a part of Korn, but he was at least in Korn for the last like 3 or 4 years, maybe longer, as their touring keyboardist. He's
Okay.
also touring keyboardist for Five Finger Death Punch. He was also in Winds of Plague, metalcore band from back in the day, who actually I think are still together. Uh, Dawn of Ashes. He has a pretty extensive and amazing resume. And Eric, our producer, knew Davey before I did. They knew each other more back in Eric was doing like electronic dance music with Skrillex and a bunch of artists like that back in the day.
Oh wow.
Jack U, which was like a collab with I think Diplo and Justin Bieber. I mean, it's just like these weird random connections we have are insane. But so Eric introduced me to Davey one time. We met one time in person, dude, probably like 10, 15 years ago. I think at the time, Davey was Avenged Sevenfold's touring bass tech, I want to say.
Oh wow.
And actually, fun fact too, Davey, All the Damn Vampires just released a remix, an official remix for one of Avenged Sevenfold's songs. I think he goes way back with them. I think he's been good friends with them for a long time. So, yeah, so I just randomly. Eric doesn't really use social media, so Davey and I have just always just been randomly talking throughout the years over DMs, and it's kind of just felt right. And he said, and I had been thinking it too. We had both been thinking like, oh, trying to think of a way for us to work together, and that's how this came together. And funny enough too, it was my favorite song on the I think it was the EP he released. "Kiss Me to Deftones" was a instrumental he did, and it was just the song that resonated with me the most. And then also it was just kind of funny that it had Deftones in the title, considering Deftones is one of my favorite bands of all time. So that also felt a bit serendipitous.
Yeah. Going a little bit back in terms of the timeline, I wanted to talk about something that was really cool that you guys did. That being, They Know We Know.
Oh, of course, you're in the music video too.
Yeah, the one time I was ever in a music video.
Yep, it's an important moment.
um,
Yeah, that was a fun song.
because that
Go ahead.
video it was like specifically made to thank everybody for the support on World is a Vampire, right?
Oh, absolutely. But also to contrast that with the, with this newfound following and love always comes the hate. And so I thought it would be super fun and funny to contrast in the video people just loving our stuff and at the same time people ripping it apart saying how dumb it is. And I had a lot of fun playing with that idea and bouncing back and forth between it during the whole video. And I remember I was struggling to think of what I wanted to do for that music video, and then it just dawned on me all of a sudden because that's right, because we had all these reactions coming in from The World is a Vampire, and we had never really had reactions before that. Maybe a couple little ones, but nothing substantial. But this, it was like, oh, this is a whole new ball game. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna hit them up and see if they're down with me making a music video where they're all just dancing to our new song, essentially. And that's what I did. And it was actually kind of a pain in the ass to make because I'm trying to stitch all you guys together at different BPMs dancing to a different song. But it worked. And then it was funny seeing everyone react to it because then they're like, you start like noticing things about themselves. Like, oh, like I guess I always do that one thing at this part in the song or when this kind of drop hits. And I remember Hardcore Keem saying a couple things like that during the song, and he would like catch himself and stop moving the way he's moving in the music video because he was just doing it subconsciously. And
Yeah.
that was just really fun and hilarious to see. And that song too is a song that I loved at first, started to not like it, but now I think I like it more than ever, which is kind of a weird, I guess, relationship to go through with a song. But yeah, that it's just, I think it's a really fun song. I love how it starts off like Slipknot, like just like cussing on stage, and then it's like we're about to get your faces ripped off essentially, and then Britney Spears comes in,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh wait, this is a dance song, and then
Say
oh
my
no, then
name,
we
say
drop
my
in,
name.
yeah, then we drop in with like blah, just like super heavy, and then like you said, it goes back to say my name, and it's just it's a fun little journey in that song, I would say.
Yeah. And I think that was. Apologize. Yawn. Um, I believe that was. It was either like shortly before then, or as the production on that video was happening. That was, I think, the time that I reacted to World is a Vampire, and I got in touch with you guys, which has been awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I think it was just perfect timing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have loved being able to show what you guys have on the channel. I have absolutely loved it. It has literally
Yeah, we
been so
appreciate you.
cool.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Always means a ton to us.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And now let's talk about this latest release. I've got a
Yeah.
gas grill for sale. It's a Weber grill, which is
Yeah, that
one of the most
uh,
interesting titles I think I've ever heard for a song.
well, that in and of itself, by the way, when we have these super long song titles, that's a nod, nostalgic throwback to all the core bands that like I feel like it was more like indie slash core bands that were doing it in like the early 2000s, like Norma Jean comes to mind, like with Bless the Martyr. Like I think it's the song. It's like, what is it? I don't hate cell phones. I hate, or cell phones don't kill people. I do, or cars. I can't remember what the song title is. It's super long.
Yeah,
Um, but a ton of bands were doing that back then. Just these really long, obnoxious song titles, and that's exactly what that's a nod to. But it's also a nod to the ending quote where you hear the guy's like, "Hey, I got a gas grill for sale. It's a Weber grill." It's on Tradio, which is it was Howard Stern's show that these guys, Richard and Sal, would prank call this show called Tradio, where people are just swapping things. They'll swap shop Tradio, like they're trying to sell things, trying to find buyers, and they would just constantly call in and prank call them and just say the dumbest stuff. But that one specifically was one that Eric and I we go back to all the time. It makes us laugh our asses off and cry every time when he's trying to sell them the grill and he's like, "Oh wait, I gotta turn the gas up," and then he explodes, and it's so dumb, but it's so funny. And we just, even when I listen to the song back now, I still laugh just as hard as the first time I heard it. And so yeah, sometimes our titles are very purposeful, or they're Easter eggy, or they're a combination. Other times they're just silly. This one's kind of a combination, I guess, of all three. But that song too, it's our biggest song, I would say, time wise, as far as like a short time period of how popular it's become. It's our most successful song since World is a Vampire. Granted, World is a Vampire is still our biggest song, and blew up more, but at the same time, this is like pretty, it's a reasonably close second. Which is exciting because, again, going back to the theme of what I was saying earlier, of like I never think we're going to be able to pull off the cool things we have in the previous year, and then we do. I think it was definitely propped up a lot by having Sammy Slam Dance on it, because he does have such a good following, and we're kind of a two peas in a pod. Like he makes super heavy stuff, but silly at the same time. He's a gnarly vocalist. He possesses kind of that hustle mentality and quality that I appreciate, in the sense of like, he's responsive, he's easy to work with, he's fun to work with. That's kind of like the business relationship aspect that I really appreciate about him. But he's just super talented. He's like us too, in that he does pretty much everything himself. I think he's pretty much a one-man army, whereas we're more of a two-man army.
yeah,
But yeah, just a really cool song. Actually, I will say, I wasn't sold on the song initially. I was like, it's fine. Like, I just wasn't that excited about it, but over time I got more excited about it. So I'm just so happy and relieved and thankful that it resonates with people. And that's of course been propped up by Charlie Hollywood again, because he did a little TikTok dance thing to it, like he did with World is a Vampire.
yeah,
And hey, it's blowing up. I mean, I think it sits at like 200,000 streams on TikTok right now, just on his video, and then some other girl picked it up. I think she's got like 150,000, and then it's
Jeez.
her version is also blowing up on Instagram right now. That's at like 130,000 views, something like that. So the fans not embracing these influencers, people on TikTok, reaction folks like yourselves, that not embracing that stuff is mind-boggling to me. Considering, again, we do this as a hobby. I just want to see how far we can go, how far we can take this.
Yeah.
You have these other bands who are like doing this, like, I want this to be my career. I want to tour for a living. And they don't do the most basic stuff, like just responding to DMs. It's unfathomable to me. Maybe it's just me being 41 years old and I've been in business for so long that I understand how critical these things are, like being timely, just being timely and responding. Honestly, two of the hardest qualities to find in people sometimes. So that stuff sticks out like a sore thumb in a good way. People are good at it.
Oh, speaking of being timely, I am so sorry about how long this took to actually happen. Because, by the way, audience, we've been trying to schedule this for, what, a few months now? Like, actually getting to talk.
You know what? You know what quality you have that made it okay is you're communicative. So we had an open dialogue about it. That honestly fixes most problems, if not all.
Yeah.
Boom.
And I guess the last topic I have on the list here is what's next for you guys, because you put out the newer track, I believe a month ago now, or at least a little bit over a month.
Yeah, it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yep.
So
next up is I'm going to finish that Buffalo Dell music video probably tomorrow. Really hoping I finish it tomorrow because I'm just so excited to release it and see what people think. Let's see, we have a show coming up here Friday, August 2nd at the Wayfarer in Costa Mesa, California, Southern California. So that's a week from this Friday. Eric will probably start working on our next single, our next track soon. We'll probably shoot that music video with Ian and Javi again. Oh, I didn't even mention their name. Their video production company is called Just Two Boys. So you can see them at the end of the tag at the end of our Arthur Rhodes music video. And so if they do shoot our next music video for the single that Eric and I haven't even started yet, but we'll start soon, we'll have their credits at the end of the video as well. Maybe at the beginning. I mean, I'm down for that. And that's kind of the major stuff. I mean, we all have full-time jobs and families, so that's our number one priority and our focus. But I think those are the top things we're working on right now. There's probably other things too that I'm forgetting. There's just a shocking amount of things always going on, and I don't even know how I keep it all straight in my head. That's the most exciting stuff I can think of, though.
You don't have to answer this, but is there the possibility that all of the stuff from this new era since 2022 are going to be in a collection? Like,
we've talked about it. Yeah, we've talked about it. The biggest problem we have is that Eric is such a perfectionist with how the music sounds and the production that, to your point, back to the rough edges around Orange County. I will be like, I love how they sound. Let's throw them all on an album, together. Add 3 new tracks. Boom, we got ourselves a new LP finally. But he's like, I have to go back and remake the songs. They all sound like garbage. And then the ironic part is that when he does that, sometimes I like how they sound in the new iteration less, whereas he thinks they sound way better. And so it creates this it's like he's happy but I'm not, or sometimes we're both happy. It's really hard. I mean, we have a really good working relationship, so we can be open and frank about how we feel about this stuff. So I'd say there's a chance. We've definitely been discussing it because the fans have been asking for another full length, and I think that would be a cool way to kind of introduce us to people who haven't heard us, that are like, I only want albums, I don't want singles. So yeah, there's definitely a strong possibility.
Okay. I will keep my eye out definitely for that. Do you have any questions for me? Because I've let you yap.
Yeah, no, I've talked a lot. Where I mean, I can't wait for this to get released. Where do you release your podcast?
I'll be releasing it on the channel, Winter Does Stuff.
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I need to. Oh, wait. I know I'm subscribed to it. Do you have multiple channels or just the one?
Just the one.
Okay, cool. I need to turn on my notifications then. Uh, no, cool. No, I just want to say you did awesome. This is actually one of the more fun interviews I've done. Like I like the you've asked some of the same questions we usually get asked, but you've definitely also asked. I would say the majority were questions we don't get asked. So that was super fun to get to talk about new stuff. You definitely seem like you've done this before, so I think you should pat yourself on the back. Very smooth. I had a great time talking to you.
Yeah,
Because at this point,
absolutely.
I've done this a lot. I've done a lot of podcasts and interviews, and most of them are good. Not all of them are great. I think I've maybe only done like one bad one. But I would say that you're upper echelon. So I'd say keep doing this, dude. I think you're really good at it.
We got approval from the John Candy, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Well, especially at first I can't talk. I especially say it because I don't think you have a lot of episodes yet.
No,
I
I
don't
do
know how
not.
many.
I have only recorded 2 as of recently.
Is this 2 or is this 3?
This is 3.
Okay.
They're gonna be going out in starting in August. So this is actually something I haven't announced yet. Spoiler.
Ooh.
So
Awesome. Yeah. No, it's that's exciting. So that's not really a question, more of a statement from me. And there's some little questions peppered in there, but yeah.
yeah,
Keep at it, dude. I mean, that's it. And I'll give you unsolicited advice, dude. You keep working hard at something, and people will start to notice. It might take a couple months, it might take a couple years, but we're a testament to that. We just kept doing something, and we put our hearts and souls into it, and it took, dude, I don't know, 5 years for it to really start popping off.
hell yeah,
And that's not proportionate to how much work because we've always put a lot of work into it, but the amount of work you put in isn't always proportionate to the reaction.
yeah,
But I think always it eventually pays off if you're pouring everything you got into it.
yeah, for sure. It was great talking to you. As I said, like I love listening to people yap about things. I like
Well, you're in the right profession.
yeah, I love listening to people talk about their stories, especially in terms of big hobbies and interests. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me, Winter. Appreciate it.
And for those of you who are listening, if you're still here, thank you very much. It means you have more than the attention span of a goldfish, which is just great to hear that the human race has some people like that left. If you like what you heard, leave a like, leave a comment below on what you thought of our discussions here. Go to all of the socials from the John Candy. These boys are amazing. I'll leave all their links in the description down below. Anything last to say before we go?
Just thank you to you. Thank you to everybody. And I guess we're just getting started.
All right. Peace in due time, everybody.